The rain hammered against the windows of their modest home in Savannah, Georgia, the kind of southern storm that felt almost biblical. Ethan stood by the kitchen counter, staring at the untouched dinner he'd cooked an hour ago. The clock read 9:17 p.m., his wife, Claire, was late again. Her text message glowed on his phone screen. "Sorry, running late. Big project at work. Don't wait up." It was the third time that week. Ethan's jaw tightened as he reread the words. Claire had always been predictable, almost meticulous about her routine. She worked at a local marketing agency, rarely stayed out past 6, and used to flood him with updates about her day. But lately, she'd grown distant. Quiet. Guarded. Something had shifted, and Ethan felt it deep in his bones. When he finally heard the soft hum of her car pulling into the driveway, his heart pounded, not from excitement, but from dread. Through the rain-smeared window, he saw Claire step out of her car, umbrella in hand. She looked beautiful, as always, her wavy chestnut hair tumbling over her shoulders. But there was something about the way she adjusted her blouse, smoothing it down like she was hiding evidence, that made his stomach churn. When she walked through the door, smelling faintly of perfume he didn't recognize, Ethan forced a smile. "Hey, babe. Long day at the office?" Claire froze for a fraction of a second, just long enough for him to notice. "Yeah," she said too quickly, slipping off her heels. "Exhausting. You have no idea." But Ethan did have an idea. He just didn't want to admit it. The storm raged outside as Claire hung her coat on the rack, her movements brisk and deliberate. Ethan's eyes followed her every step, cataloging the little details he had begun to notice over the past few weeks: the new perfume, the perfectly styled hair even after long hours at the office, the way she seemed more alive when she texted someone but flat and drained when she was with him. Claire slipped past him toward the hallway. "Did you eat?" she asked, her voice casual, distant. Ethan forced a chuckle. "Not yet. I made dinner." He gestured toward the table, where the roast chicken he had spent 2 hours preparing sat untouched, now cold. It wasn't just food. It was an attempt at connection, at normalcy, at holding on to something that felt like it was slipping through his fingers. "Oh." Claire's tone was flat. She didn't even glance at the meal. "Thanks, but I grabbed a bite at work." Ethan's stomach tightened. "At work? Always at work?" "You've been working late a lot lately," he said carefully, testing the waters. "Everything okay at the agency?" Claire froze for a heartbeat before turning to face him with a practiced smile. "Yeah. Just busy season, you know how it is." She leaned in to kiss his cheek, a quick, perfunctory gesture. "I'm going to take a shower." As she disappeared down the hall, Ethan stood there, rooted to the spot, his mind racing. That shower, it wasn't just to wash off the rain. It was to wash off someone else's touch. The thought struck him like a physical blow, and his hands curled into fists at his sides. Savannah had always been their safe haven. Ethan grew up just outside the city, with its cobblestone streets, moss-draped oaks, and history that clung to every building like ghosts of the past. He loved the rhythm of life here, the slow southern mornings, sweet tea on the porch, neighbors who waved from their front yards. He and Claire had met 6 years ago at a charity event downtown. She was new to Savannah, having moved from Atlanta for a job in marketing. Claire was vibrant, ambitious, and had a laugh that seemed to light up the entire room. Ethan, a local contractor who built custom homes, was immediately drawn to her energy. Within a year, they were married. For a long time, their life had been good. Simple but full. Saturday mornings at the farmer's market. Sunday dinners with Ethan's family. Trips to Tybee Island, where they'd watch the sun sink into the horizon, barefoot in the sand. But now, their once steady life felt like a house with a cracked foundation. From the outside, everything still looked perfect. Inside, things were beginning to crumble. The next day, Ethan drove to his construction site early, but his mind wasn't on the job. As his crew worked, he found himself replaying the night before, trying to decode every word Claire had said. Around noon, he pulled out his phone and texted her. "Hope your day's going well. Love you." He stared at the screen, waiting. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Finally, her reply popped up. "Busy, can't talk. Love you too." Short. Cold. Unlike her. Ethan's gut twisted. Something wasn't right. That evening, as Claire showered, Ethan noticed her purse left carelessly on the couch. He'd never been the snooping type, but tonight his curiosity was unbearable. Slowly, he unzipped it and peeked inside. Among the usual clutter, lip gloss, receipts, her wallet, was a folded piece of paper. He unfolded it and froze. It was a receipt from the Magnolia Inn, a boutique hotel downtown. 2 nights ago. Room service for 2. Champagne. The paper trembled in his hands. He quickly tucked it back into her bag just as he heard the bathroom door open. Claire emerged in a towel, her skin flushed from the steam. When she saw him sitting there, her eyes flickered, not with guilt, but with calculation. "You okay?" she asked. Ethan forced a smile so tight it hurt. "Yeah. Just tired." The following days were torture. Ethan couldn't confront her yet, not without proof. Savannah was a small city, full of familiar faces and whispered gossip. If Claire was seeing someone, it wouldn't stay hidden for long. On Thursday night, Ethan made up an excuse about having to check on a late delivery at one of his job sites. Instead, he parked a block away from Claire's office and waited. At 6:05 p.m., he saw her exit the building, her hair perfectly styled, her lipstick freshly applied. She glanced around nervously, then crossed the street and slid into the passenger seat of a sleek black BMW. Ethan's pulse thundered in his ears. He started his truck and followed at a distance. The BMW wound its way through the historic district, past shuttered shops and dimly lit restaurants, before pulling into the parking lot of the Magnolia Inn, the same hotel on the receipt. Ethan parked half a block away and watched as Claire and the driver disappeared inside. It felt like his entire world was collapsing around him. When Claire came home later that night, smelling faintly of cologne that wasn't his, Ethan wanted to scream, to demand answers, to tear down the carefully constructed lies. But instead, he swallowed the rage and pretended everything was fine. "Hey, babe," he said, his voice hoarse. "How was work?" She didn't meet his eyes. "Exhausting. I'm going to bed." Ethan stared after her, his chest burning. She was lying so easily now, so smoothly. It made him wonder how long this had been going on, and how many times he'd been played for a fool. 2 weeks later, Ethan finally learned the man's identity. His name was Ryan Callahan, a regional manager at Claire's firm. Tall, charismatic, and married with 2 kids. Ethan discovered this through careful online digging, piecing together scraps of information from social media and local business websites. The more he learned, the deeper his hatred grew. Ryan wasn't just stealing his wife. He was destroying 2 families at once. Ethan could no longer eat, sleep, or focus on work. Every time Claire's phone buzzed, he felt a dagger twist in his chest. She had started guarding her phone like a secret agent. Always face down, always with her, even in the bathroom. One evening, while she was showering, he finally snapped. He went to her nightstand and opened the drawer, his hands trembling. Inside, under a pile of receipts and old notes, he found a sleek black burner phone. Ethan's stomach dropped. She hadn't just been hiding texts from him, she had a separate phone for this man. He unlocked it easily, no passcode. The first message he saw made his vision blur with rage. "Ryan, I can still taste you. Counting down the hours until tomorrow night. Red heart. Claire, me too. I hate sneaking around, but I can't stop. You make me feel alive again. Ethan's breath came in ragged gasps. He scrolled further and saw photo after photo, Claire in lingerie, Claire in hotel rooms, Claire whispering sweet nothings to the man who was destroying their marriage. At that moment, something inside Ethan broke. When Claire emerged from the bathroom, wrapped in a towel and humming softly, Ethan had already tucked the phone back into place and forced himself to sit calmly on the edge of the bed. She smiled at him, a fake, practiced smile, and said, "Everything okay?" Ethan nodded slowly, his face unreadable. "Yeah, babe. Everything's fine." But inside, he was already planning his revenge. The next day, Ethan began preparing carefully. Revenge wasn't something to rush. It needed to be perfect, surgical, a cut so clean that Claire wouldn't see it coming until it was too late. He started by gathering evidence. Screenshots of every incriminating message. Photos of Claire and Ryan entering the Magnolia Inn together, taken discreetly from his truck. A copy of the hotel receipt, now stored in a folder marked "Divorce." Then, Ethan reached out to someone unexpected, Ryan's wife, Melissa. He found her Facebook profile and sent a simple, devastating message. "Hi Melissa, you don't know me, but I think your husband and my wife are having an affair. If you want proof, meet me at the coffee shop on Broughton Street tomorrow at 4 p.m. She replied within minutes. "I'll be there." Melissa arrived at the coffee shop wearing oversized sunglasses, her face pale and tense. Ethan slid a manila envelope across the table. Inside were printed screenshots and photos, undeniable proof of Ryan and Claire's betrayal. Melissa's hands shook as she flipped through the pages. "Oh my God," her voice cracked. "I thought I was crazy. He's been working late for months, but he always had an excuse." Ethan's jaw clenched. "Now you know the truth." Melissa looked up, tears welling in her eyes. "What are you going to do?" Ethan's voice was low, cold, controlled. "Burn them both down. But first, I need your help." Melissa hesitated, then nodded. "Tell me what you need." Over the next week, Ethan and Melissa worked together, carefully orchestrating their plan. Melissa invited Ryan to dinner on Friday night, pretending she wanted to reconnect. She even arranged for a babysitter to take the kids out, so it would be just the two of them, or so Ryan would think. At the same time, Ethan told Claire he was working late on a big construction project. In reality, he parked a few blocks away, his truck hidden in the shadows, his phone ready to record everything. Melissa's role was to get Ryan to admit the affair on camera. Ethan's role was to make sure Claire walked right into the trap. Friday night arrived. Ethan's heart pounded as he watched from his truck, the humid Savannah air thick around him. At 7:32 p.m., Claire's car pulled up to Melissa and Ryan's house. She got out, adjusting her dress nervously, completely unaware she was walking straight into her own destruction. Inside, Melissa greeted her warmly, too warmly, and led her to the living room, where Ryan was already waiting. His expression shifted from shock to horror when he saw both women standing there. "What's going on?" Claire asked, glancing between them. Melissa crossed her arms. "Why don't you tell her, Ryan?" Ryan stammered, "Melissa, I don't know what you think." "Save it." Melissa snapped. She turned to Claire. "He's been lying to both of us. You're not the only one." Claire's face went pale. "Melissa, Ethan chose that moment to walk through the door. The look on Claire's face when she saw him was priceless, a mixture of terror, guilt, and disbelief. "Ethan," she whispered. "What are you doing here?" Ethan held up his phone, the screen glowing with a red recording light. "Catching the truth on camera." Ryan lunged forward. "Turn that off, man." Ethan didn't flinch. "Smile, Ryan. This video's going to look great in court." The next weeks were a blur of lawyers, court dates, and whispered gossip around town. Melissa filed for divorce immediately, citing infidelity. Ethan did the same, attaching the video as evidence. Claire begged for forgiveness, showing up at Ethan's house in tears, pleading for a second chance. "It was a mistake," she sobbed. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Please, Ethan, we can fix this." Ethan stared at her, his face like stone. "You didn't just hurt me, Claire. You destroyed us." Then he shut the door in her face. Months later, Ethan sat on a bench in Forsyth Park, watching the Spanish moss sway gently in the breeze. The pain was still there, but it had dulled, replaced by something new, freedom. Melissa joined him on the bench, handing him a coffee. "They finalized Ryan's divorce yesterday," she said softly. Ethan nodded. "Mine too." They sat in silence for a moment, the sun filtering through the ancient trees. Two people scarred by betrayal, slowly learning to heal. Finally, Melissa asked, "So, what now?" Ethan took a deep breath, his gaze steady. "Now, we rebuild. Brick by brick." Claire moved away from Savannah, unable to face the whispers and judgment of a town that knew her sins. Ryan relocated to another state, his career in ruins. Ethan rebuilt his life the same way he built houses, with patience, care, and a strong foundation. The storm had passed. But he would never forget the lesson it taught him, that sometimes, to truly move forward, you have to tear everything down first.